I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Truth and Taxation meeting for 2025 budget year. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our administrator, Jeff Cadwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will quickly go through the slides about the about the proposed budget and levy for 2025, and then hopefully we can answer some questions that the people are here have.
Jeff, could you talk into the mic a little more? I'm just having trouble hearing you.
Okay. So today we are here for the Hubbard County Truth and Taxation meeting for budget year 2025. The purpose of the meeting, well, we recognize that the TnT statements were late in getting out this year, later than usual. As an extra measure, this presentation is being recorded and will be available from the county website or through the county YouTube channel after the meeting. The Hubbard County Board is also considering holding a second TnT meeting yet to be scheduled. The purpose of Truth and Taxation is to provide taxpayers an opportunity to comment on the levy and the budget set by the elected officials. Each local government is required to formally adopt a proposed levy in September for the upcoming year. The numbers that you'll see in this material and the numbers that were reflective on the tax statement that you received probably this week are based on that proposed levy. County auditors generate parcel-specific notices of proposed taxes for all parcels, and each government is required to hold a public meeting after those notices come out. At this meeting, we'll present information about the proposed 2025 Hubbard County budget and levy. We will answer specific questions about the proposed budget and levy. We are not here to discuss property values at this meeting. Property values are discussed in the spring when the proposed valuation notice comes out in March, and you have an opportunity to appear at your local Board of Appeal and Equalization or the County Board of Appeal and Equalization in April and in June. So if you have questions about value, you can answer those. You can ask those at the end, but I won't be able to help. You will have an opportunity to call the assessor's office after the meeting. Budget development at the county level starts in June. Managers propose staffing changes and new positions for the following year by the middle of June. By the 1st of July, budget worksheets are distributed to department heads and entered into the county budgeting system so they can be presented to the board as a preliminary budget the first week of August. August 13th, or middle of August through the middle of September, the board reviews the proposed budget, has conversations with the department heads, especially from the larger departments like Human Services, Law Enforcement, and the Highway Department. And then before September 30th of every year, the board is required to set a preliminary levy. On September 17th this year, the board set a preliminary levy of $21,614,000, which was a 7% increase over the 2024 levy. For the next 3 months, then the board has an opportunity to fine-tune or make requests or talk about specific line items with department heads. Tonight we are at the TnT presentation, and on Tuesday next week is the final board meeting of 2024, where the board will adopt a final budget and levy. One of the primary drivers in the budget every year is payroll for county employees. This year, over the last 12 years, there's been an average of a 5% increase in payroll from year over year. In 2025, that increase represents a 3% increase in cost of living wages for the staff and a 5% increase in health insurance that has been split 50-50 between the employees and the county. Overall, there's a 6.8% increase in budgeted compensation costs for 2025. Part of that increase comes from the number of employees. You can see that in 2012, we were just under 200. In 2024, we're at 255. And in 2025, we're looking at 259 employees across the county. An average increase of 2% annually in the number of employees. This then is the levy summary that the board has been working with. We started with a preliminary levy of $21,614,000 and an increase of 7%. This levy that shows a $21.4 million levy in the bottom here, and it's just under a 6% increase proposed for 2025. You can see that a lot of that money goes into the 2025 levy, $2.6 million for general operations, $8.6 million for law enforcement and public safety, $3.5 million for the highway, $4.2 for human services, $825,000 for debt service, and then $1.6 million that's set aside for future capital needs. I look at three, and if you got your tax statement, if you got this handout that came with it, these are the charts that are from that handout. 2025 expenditures, 38% of the expenditures are in the road and bridge, in the highway department for next year. That's very high, but next year we have 4 or 5 federal projects, so there's about an extra $13 million of pass-through monies that are going through the highway department fund. That happens every 4th or 5th year when those monies get pooled. We can see that you can see that we have a $78 million budget, but only a $21 million levy. We get a lot of revenues from other sources. Those revenues come from federal programs for human services, federal and state tax dollars that come to support roads and bridges and other highway functions. A lot of money comes in, some general fund money comes in from the state of Minnesota. So we only really cover about 33% of our cost with the local property tax levy. And this 2025 levy breakdown shows you how each levy dollar, every levy dollar you have, 38 cents goes to law enforcement and public safety. 16% goes to road and bridge, 20% to human services, and the balance goes to general operations, debt service, or future capital needs. And here's a history of the county levy for the last 6-7 years. And here's that levy breakdown shown in another way. $8.6 million of the proposed levy is for public safety. Just another way of seeing it.
What's debt service?
In 2005, when the jail was built, the county borrowed money to build that, and the debt service typically, when the county bonds for money for capital projects, they pay that back over a 20-year period. So that bond is about to expire. The new jail project, the debt that's been authorized to take that project on, will come on board as that one expires. So there won't be an increase in levy for debt service, but debt service is basically a mortgage payment. It's a mortgage payment the county pays on the buildings they operate.
It's just as bad as the federal government. I mean, they should save up the money ahead of time instead of borrowing it.
We could do that, but then we'd have to be setting aside $5 million a year in future capital needs, because the cost of future improvements is always more than the cost of improvements now, and the cost of that. It's a philosophical argument, because counties rarely have enough money in the bank to make a cash capital improvement. These are a list of the tax capacity rates broken down by taxing jurisdiction. I know it's really small. We can provide copies of this. Hubbard County has a tax rate proposed tax rate of 2025 of 32%. The typical tax on a residential parcel is 1% of your value. When you look at the combined rates, here, our combined rates are usually about 0.65 to about 0.85 outside of the city of Park Rapids. In the city of Park Rapids, they're higher than that. So the typical tax capacity on a residential parcel is 1%. You have a $250,000 home, you would pay $2,500 in taxes. In Hubbard County, you pay less than half of that, unless you're in the city of Park Rapids, because they have a pretty significant infrastructure and bill. If you're in Wadena County, the tax rate is not 32%, it's 80%. In Beltrami County, it's close to 80%. In Cass County, I think it's relatively comparable to Hubbard counties. And that is because we have a very diverse economy. That means we have commerce and industry and businesses. It's also because of the 15,000 residential parcels we have in the county. Half of those are seasonal. So there's a lot of people who pay taxes in Hubbard County who don't live here year-round. And that does help everybody who does live here year-round. These are just the rest of that chart. One other thing that I won't show that. That is the presentation, Madam Chair, of the proposed budget of $78 million and the levy of $21.4 million for 2025.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Does the board have any comments before I open it up to the public?
I'd just kind of like to address that gentleman's statement about saving for,
Could you talk into the mic so they can hear you?
saving for expenditures. That's what I do personally, is I put money to put money aside and to buy stuff in the future, type of a thing. There's, like Jeff had mentioned, there's kind of two schools of thought. There's that thought, which we are doing some of that. We are putting some money away, but it's hard. I mean, we'd have to really raise taxes to put a large amount away. And the other school of thought is that if you borrow money, the people who are actually getting to use the buildings in the future are the ones who are then paying for the building, versus the people in the past paying for future buildings, type of a thing. So like I say, it's kind of two schools of thought. Yeah, it would be great if we could have a big pile of money and have it invested and maybe make enough money to pay for everything, but it just doesn't work that way. But like I said, we are putting some away, so we're not borrowing everything we need.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work that way because you don't want it to work that way. You know, that's the trend, just like in Washington. You know, you just spend and spend and spend and then tax and spend, you know. I mean, there's gotta be a way to trim the budget, without, you know, forcing everybody to sell their house and move out of Minnesota. It's ridiculous. My taxes went up $500 a year, and I haven't done anything. It's just, I don't know what, we need Trump in here to slash everybody's wages or something, because this isn't working for anybody. I don't understand.
I guess the only good thing about with the county is we're not creating debt. You know, with the, you know, federal government's, what it is now, 36 trillion?
Yeah.
You know, and we're nowhere near, even percentage-wise.
$150,000 a year on interest for a loan, you know.
Well, it's also principal.
Yeah.
You know, just like when you buy not too many people have enough money saved aside to buy a new home.
Yeah.
The county currently has $120 million worth of buildings and plant and operations. If you owned a business and you wanted to pay cash for all your repairs, you would set aside 10 to 20% a year.
Yeah, I understand that.
So we would have to raise our levy by $10 million.
Or cut your budget,
Well,
you know.
85% of what counties do is mandated. And these commissioners will tell you that is the case, that we don't have a choice but to provide the services we provide. The choice that we have to provide, the county sheriff is not required to patrol streets at all.
Yeah.
We don't have to spend that 40% on law enforcement and public safety, but the sheriff, these other elected officials, and most of the public have said that's important in this county.
Yeah, I'm all for law enforcement, all for it.
That's the elected part of our budget.
Do you still work at Mantrap on the highway, road department?
I work for Cass County.
Okay. I noticed on Gunnison, they went up and put reflective markers on the curves on a gravel road. I mean, was that really necessary?
So, sir, we need to just stick with the.
I don't know, I can't
Well,
address
it's part of
that.
the taxes, so it's relevant, I think.
Well, I can't address that. I'm not on the Mantrap Township Board. I can't speak to that. So,
It's
I
just
can
my-
investigate that and try to figure it out for you,
My overall
then I can get
opinion
back to you.
that the budget should be cut because of worthless things like this. I mean, this is just a waste of money. And we're paying for it.
Well, there's one thing that I'd like to say, and that is, 2 years ago, the county commissioners were allocated for a 3% salary increase. And then they voted amongst yourselves, not you, Mr. Kernan, but you four, decided that you wanted to get a 7% increase. For Christ's sakes, how can you justify that? How can you justify that? That's despicable and disgusting. Do you have anything to say about their salaries?
I do not. By statute, elected officials of this board have to set their salary for the year.
That's bull. They shouldn't set them. 3% is what they, for Christ's sakes, I'm a retired state employee, I get a 1%. Well, you guys get you got a 7%. That's not funny, Kruger. You're the one who authored that.
That was what, just about
Yeah,
all.
that's, the sheriff, hell yeah.
That's
He
what just about
deserves
all.
whatever he gets. I have no problem with that. But it's the other four that I have a problem with.
That's what just about all of the employees got, was the 7%. They got the 3% COLA.
What?
They got the 3% COLA, plus there was a change in the grade where everybody got a increase in
And
grade.
equity for those guys, those two, county attorney and the sheriff, but not for you four.
Well, there's been a problem of getting people
Yeah, I
to
got a
run
problem with that.
for this position. A lot of, we've had,
Oh,
just
don't
recently
do
had an
excuses
election
on-
where there was 2 seats that were unopposed.
No, you guys knew what you were doing, and that was wrong. Disgusting.
You realize for
I'm
years
out of here.
for years, the salaries did not increase at all, for several years.
Yeah, my taxes went from 2050 to 2492. We just got out of taking a licking for 23% for inflation. And now you wanna raise our taxes 20%. What the hell? How can you justify that? I don't care, you need to cut your budget.
Can I look at your tax statement?
No.
Can I see that?
Do realize
So
too
you're-
that the county is not immune from inflation either.
So the
It
county,
costs the
your
county
county
more for
taxes
goods
went
and
up
services.
$200.
I'm saying the overall taxes went up.
I understand that.
Almost $500.
The Nevis School District went up over $200.
Yeah.
We can only answer to the budget that we're responsible for, is what I'm
Okay.
saying. And your property value went up by $60,000.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. that
It's
people-
ridiculous that's what they say it's worth. Because it's not worth that.
85% of what we do is mandated by state. Valuations are set by the assessor's office and your local assessor
Okay.
to meet criteria based on actual sales in your township, in your districts, on the lakes that you live on. And the opportunity to have a conversation about that change in value was in the spring. I I said, in your neighborhood, in your township, in your city, on the lake you live on, whatever neighborhood you're in, those, your opportunity to discuss that, that's the thing that drove your tax increase, was the value increase.
Do you think we can honestly sustain tax increases like this after getting screwed by 23% last year? For the last 3 years? How are we supposed to do that without moving out of this state?
I can assure you, there's many of the commissioners that share your sentiment on that.
You need
But
to
again,
reduce your budget.
we're very limited on what we have control of
Yeah.
in the budget.
You need to reduce your budget somehow. I don't care how you do it, but you do.
But we'd be open to suggestions.
Okay, well, a 7% pay raise is one thing. I don't, county employees, I don't know if there's any room to cut there, I don't know. But something has to be done. We can't survive 40% increases. It's just not possible.
If we don't keep up with what the market is demanding for positions in county government, we will have no workers. And if you don't believe that, I can cite examples for you after this meeting of employees lost and opportunities lost at the county because other counties paid more. And it's a vicious circle that just has continued since COVID. A county gets desperate, needs an auditor, will pay more than they were willing to pay for an auditor because they need somebody to do the job. And then the next thing you know, the next time you're looking, that wage just got higher,
I don't
or
wanna
you
hear
won't find
excuses.
anybody.
I don't wanna hear excuses. I know.
It's not an
complicated,
excuse, it's
not
reality.
easy. But you guys gotta do something here.
I'm just telling you what the reality of the environment is.
Yeah.
We're all upset about it. We all go down and pay more money for groceries, more money for gas, more money for
I'm
lumber.
retired. I'm on a set budget,
Mhm.
I'm also kinda disabled, a veteran, and now you guys wanna raise my taxes over, 20%? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. My point is, none of us are immune to the same
I
problems
know
you're
we're not,
experiencing.
but something has to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and it would behoove you to start here. You gotta do something. It's just unsustainable.
We just got back from our Association of Minnesota Counties, and many of us were preaching that exact same things to the legislators that were there. But you know what? You have a state legislature right now that doesn't care about cutting regulations or cutting government. They blew through a $17 billion
I know
budget
that.
in no time flat on cultural and social issues.
And now they wanna
Is
build
what they spent.
another, $100 or $500 million office
Yeah.
building.
And we're just an administrative arm for the state, so we don't have control over there except to go down there and lobby and tell them how it's affecting us here at local government. But when it falls on deaf ears, what are you to do? That's where we need people like you to engage with your state legislators and do your part to tell them how it's
I am.
affecting you.
I
We
am.
can't do it all.
I know, I am
Yep.
involved. It's just, it's just ridiculous. I don't see how a lot of even young families can afford this.
Young people today, I sympathize with them on, how do they afford a house? How do they afford an automobile?
Especially
It's
old people on
difficult.
a fixed income that doesn't go up,
Yeah.
3% a year.
Yep. But we're still required to provide services. We're still required to
Well,
apprehend criminals and
you know what?
put them in jail.
I got a four-wheel drive, you don't have to maintain the road anymore. I'll just drive across the field. I mean, just one example of putting up those reflectors on a gravel road. It's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Why would you need reflectors on a gravel road? It just amazes me. That's just one simple instance of stuff that can be changed.
Steve, I'm guessing that's a township road, isn't it?
Correct.
So, sir, that would be a township road, so you would need to go to your township officials and ask them about that.
Of course. But we're all involved here. The county, the township, everybody's involved in the price hikes. I'm at a loss. Something has to be done. I don't know. What's left of the meeting? Does anybody, it for the presentation and everything?
That's it. That's the presentation. Any questions anybody else might have?
And just a reminder, if you want to, if you're concerned about your assessed value, you have to go to your local Board of Appeals in the spring. If you do not attend your local Board of Appeals, then, or at least contact the assessor prior to that ending, you will not be able to present at the County Board of Appeals. So you gotta go step by step through that. If you go to your local Board of Appeal and you don't like the results, then you can come to the County Board of Appeal.
Yeah, I
So
know.
you gotta follow that process, it's outlined on the back
I'm
here.
aware of
Okay.
that. It's just, I'm just extremely disappointed. After getting screwed for the last 3 years, and now I'm getting screwed by Minnesota again. It really bugs the crap out of me. I don't know how anybody else feels, but this is ridiculous.
I feel the same way.
Well, something has to be done, you know, I mean, everybody's gotta live within a budget.
Yep.
You know, I'm all for law enforcement, build as many jails as you can, and that's fine with me, but try and save up before you get
To
into a
Commissioner Van Kampen's point,
$34 trillion debt.
we balance our budget every year.
Yeah,
Can't say the same for the state or the feds.
well, I think there's still room to cut. You know. Just, I don't know, I'm just disgusted thoroughly. Another thing, you know, you should put on there where the hell the meeting is. I mean, I went to the other door over there, it was locked. You know, nobody knows, I mean, there was one car in the parking lot. Nobody knows where the hell they even go, where, nobody knows where this meeting location is.
Don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I think most people who come here for regular services, who come here to renew their driver's license, who come here to,
Well, that, yeah,
that's the same door.
this specific meeting room. though.
It says on the notice, it says third floor of the government center.
Okay, all right, well, I've done that, I guess. Do something about your budget.
Did either of you have a question or a comment you'd like to share?
You're listening.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Okay, Dave moves,
I'll second.
Tom seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,